what is required from the state to move a body from a burial plot?
Essentially, in order to disinter a body, an application has to be made to the state registrar to do so. And that application is usually made either by the surviving spouse, if there is one. If not, it's the next of kin usually who makes that request. And the actual request is for disposition of a body, and there are a lot of reasons that there can be a request to make a disposition. It's not just to disinter and reinter. It could also be to make a donation to science of the body, or to cremate, or to move the body out of state. Those are other reasons that are commonly required for asking for that permission to do so. The issues that I think are important are that if in fact the request is being made for disinterment and reinterment, if it's in the same cemetery, there's no need for a permit, for a state permit to occur. It's only if in fact the disinterment is to move that body from one cemetery to another that there is the requirement for a permit to be done.
So does the state require proof? Does the state require any documentation proving that you own the plot or that you have any kinship to the person buried there?
Yes, and in fact the registrar, and that may be either a probate judge or it may be a registrar in one of our public health areas of the state. The majority of the registrars are actually probate judges. The registrar is expected and actually has to attest that they have good information from the physician that the patient died of natural causes, or that they have information from a coroner or a medical examiner that it's okay to remove the body from its burial site. And the registrar has to attest that he or she has made good faith efforts to determine that before it can occur.
What does good faith mean to you?
It means that I think they have to either have spoken directly with the physician of record, or they have to have a form which may be standard in some hospitals, it varies, which indicates what the cause of death might have been, or that the individual was under care for a period of time and that there was nothing that would suggest anything other than a natural cause of death. There has to be an effort made by the registrar, either by direct conversation with the physician or through proper paperwork that can be obtained from the hospital if in fact the individual died in the hospital, that would indicate that that was the situation. That's generally what I would think would be considered good faith effort.
What about digging someone up that's been in their burial plot for years?
Essentially there, the request is simply for the purpose of disinterment and reinterment generally. And there has to be an effort to determine that ownership of the plot has been determined and essentially approved by the owner of the plot. That's where the body is going to be coming from. There has to be also an approval by the sexton of that particular cemetery that this is going to happen. And there also has to be indication that the responsible party for the actual disinterment is aware and has agreed to do this, and that's generally the funeral home that's going to be doing the disinterment.
And when you get that information, are you relying on signatures? Or are you requesting actual documentation showing proof of ownership or kinship?
You're actually relying on signatures. And
so no proof, no documentation, just signatures.
There may have been documentation earlier related to information from the physician, but if in fact this is a situation where the body has been in the ground for some period of time and this is just purely a request for removal, It's going to be based on signatures, and the only signature that has to be notarized is the signature of the applicant, the family member.
So the state doesn't require any documented proof of ownership plot or kinship to the person being dug up?
No documentation, only the signature of individuals that have the authority to make those decisions.
Do you think that policy makes it easy for someone to dig someone up?
No, I don't. I think actually to disinter someone requires quite a few processes, and by virtue of the fact that so many different entities have to have approved, I think it makes it sometimes cumbersome actually to achieve.